Hey, what's up everybody? It's the Crypto Ginger here. I just wanted to take a brief moment and connect some dots. I actually went on Twitter and found some information that was very interesting, and I've been seeing quite a bit of information kind of bouncing around that is linked itself to what I'm about to show you here. Now, I know with all the heated politics that have been taking place globally, it is very interesting to still see that there are big players and big names still working under the radar, trying to make something of the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And I think one of those players just so happens to be a member of Ripple. Here we have Cory Johnson, who recently, I believe last month in November of 2018, posted a Twitter feed here that has an image of something scribbled basically in a book. Now you can recognize some of these names. I definitely think that we're all familiar with, obviously, Donald Trump, the Trump organization. You can see that in some form or fashion they're linking it to Alfa Bank. Then of course Vladimir Putin. Of course there's a couple other names here that I'm not too personally familiar with other than Amway, and it looks as though there's some names here directly with again connections to Donald Trump and what looks to be Heartland Payment Systems. And again, it's just a big full circle when it comes to some of these names here. So what I wanted to do is try to find out how this could potentially link itself to Ripple the company, since Cory Johnson is the one who posted this and he's the one who works for Ripple. So looking a little bit further here, I found this. On alphabank.com, we can see that back in March of 2018 this year, Alfa Bank becomes the first Russian bank to join R3 blockchain consortium. Now, if you've been listening to any of the news about R3, you will have heard that it has made a connection directly with Ripple. We'll get into that in just a second here. But it is interesting to look a little bit further into Alfa the bank here. As you can see, it states here that founded in 1990, Alfa Bank is a full-service bank operating in most sectors of the financial market, including retail and corporate lending, investment banking, leasing, factoring, and trade finance. Alfa Banking Group is the largest private bank in Russia in terms of total assets, total equity, deposit, and loan portfolios. And of course it goes into even more explanation here as far as how much money it handles. And of course it also states here that it is a branch network that consists of 762 offices in Moscow and across Russia and abroad. You can even see it's reaching out to the Netherlands, United Kingdoms, and Cyprus. So really, we have what looks to be a very large connection with Alfa Bank, and again, it is one of the first banks to join R3 blockchain consortium. So, again, if you've been paying attention to the news, you will have seen that just recently, R3 adds Ripple as first crypto for the Universal Payments dApp. Now, of course, really what they're adding is XRP. As you can see here, R3 has added XRP token to its Universal Payment Settlement platform called Corda Settler. And of course, according to the article, you can see that it says it allows payment obligations raised on the Corda blockchain to be settled via any parallel payment rail that supports cryptocurrencies or assets, or any traditional payment rail that can provide cryptographic proof of settlement. You can see here, this is just another form of payment processing, whether it is cryptocurrencies or an asset, or like it states here, a traditional payment rail that can provide a cryptographic proof of settlement. So a very good connection here when it comes to, again, R3 and Ripple, and seeing R3 using XRP. So now you can see how R3 is connected to Alfa Bank, giving Alfa Bank now the availability to use Corda Settler, which will allow them to actually process with the XRP token. So there's a connection there that we've already seen. Another connection I found very interesting here with this article, we have a little bit of connecting the dots with a bank called Sberbank in Russia. Now, of course, this is a dated article back in November 15th, but you can see here that according to the article, we have back in June, Sberbank partnered with Alfa Bank to test cryptocurrency-based investment options for real investors. In October, Sberbank became an advisor to state-owned power giant Rossetti in order to help a trial blockchain solution. So just simply another connection there when it comes to additional partners that Alfa has made outside of R3, now giving an additional bank the availability to at least reach out to R3 to possibly use Corda Settler, which again uses XRP. So more connections there when it comes to XRP and this whole chain. Now, of course, I think that this article here is very interesting because it happened to have just come out just recently here, talking about how Kremlins tell Russian banks to prepare for disconnection from international payment systems. And looking a little bit further in the article, it says that central banks sent letters to Russian financial institutions recommending taking preventative measures in case the partner banks through which they work with Visa and MasterCard systems will be forced to suspend operations. So you can see that these particular banks are going to have to actually take measurements, and what kind of measurements are they going to have as far as alternatives? If they're doing what Alfa is doing, then it's very possible we can see in the very near future more banks onboarding themselves with connecting to R3, quite possibly being able to use core to settle, or maybe even something bigger than that, just simply with the amount of banks that might need this alternative here. And again, if it's available for them to do so, we could see a large amount of banks hopping on board very, very soon here. Again, this is actually something that was dated just a couple of days ago, so we don't necessarily have the word as to whether or not this has gone directly into effect, but again, at least these banks have an option to choose from, and again, it's connecting these banks to Ripple, the company, through R3. Now, connecting some of these dots here and finding a lot of this very interesting here, I want to go back to that image from Cory Johnson. We just talked about how Alfa Bank has the connection to R3. We recognize that R3 is connected to Ripple. You can see here that it's connected to Vladimir Putin when it comes to Alfa Bank, and Alfa Bank is also connected to the Trump Organization, which is connected to Trump. So with that information here in mind, of course, you can see that it still branches out to multiple names here. I just won't have time to go over each one of these particular names. But when it connects to Donald Trump, I definitely found that interesting, and right alongside of this news here. So this was actually something we saw back in October, where we had heard that members of Ripple had talked to the Trump administration in regards to the possibility of using either their products or even using XRP to combat that of China's larger force on mining Bitcoin. So when you connect the dots with that, and then of course looking at that information right alongside of this right here, where we saw that back in June of this year, a member of the White House left and started working for the Clearinghouse Banking Group. Her name is Shahira Knight. So looking a little bit further in the Clearinghouse Banking Group, you can see this right here is the clearinghouse.org site, and right off the bat you can see that it's talking about this thing called RTP, which is also known as real-time payments. Here in the article it says that mobile technology and digital commerce are driving the need for safer and faster payment systems in the U.S. The Clearinghouse responds with real-time payments, a new real-time system for all U.S. financial institutions to use as a platform for payment innovation. Now, we've heard real-time payments before because that is something that Ripple offers when it comes to XRapid and XCurrent. The article then states that financial institutions will take advantage of RTP's capability to create or enhance digital services for their corporate or retail customers. So it looks as though they're giving real-time payment offerings here to corporate members and retail customers just as well. And of course, looking a little bit further, you can see that it talks a little bit more in depthly about the real-time payment solution there. It doesn't necessarily mention Ripple, but I found it very interesting that when you have people from Ripple talking directly to Trump, you have a Trump member leaving that, going to a clearinghouse, which is now a clearinghouse offering real-time payment availabilities and working in the digital realm. You can at least see that under the radar here, it is quite possible that things are connecting as far as dots are concerned. And again, going back to that image of Cory Johnson, you can see that Donald Trump has at least a full circle around him when it comes to people connecting directly to him. Could Ripple be part of this connection here? It is very likely. Again, we have this coming directly from Cory Johnson himself. You can actually find this on his Twitter handle, so I would advise looking this up. Definitely go and do your own research on this information. I'm just trying to connect some dots. I found it very interesting here. Let me know what you guys think, and I appreciate you watching. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're new, and also again, take advantage of that link in the description for the Ledger Nano S, because it is 30% off for the rest of December. Hope you have a nice night. Bye bye.